question of the deep sea dragon is probably the Guild Wars franchise's single most important mystery. It's a story idea that was first introduced over 10 years ago now, and information about this creature's true nature is absolutely scarce. For those out of the loop, the Elder Dragons in the Guild Wars lore have been established as some of the most powerful and integral aspects of the entire universe. Defeating the dragons, learning to live with the dragons, or more recently replacing the dragons, has been for years now the one main consistent focus of the franchise's story. And there are only 6 of them. So isn't it incredible that for all this time, one dragon and one alone has been a near total enigma that we know next to nothing about? In this video, I'll explain everything we know so far and why it may be that in the next expansion, we'll finally get our answers. Guild Wars has always had the idea of dragons, even back in the first game, many of them living in the as-yet unvisited continent of Cantha. But it was only with the introduction of the second game that the writers introduced the concept of Elder Dragons, major forces of near unfathomable power that awake in cycles to consume and corrupt the world. While we've heard next to nothing about the Deep Sea Dragon for all these years, it is true that the studio was always clear it existed. This wasn't something they randomly decided happened late in the day to shake up the story. The dragon has always been there in the minds of the studio and the lore from the beginning of this arc. They've just deliberately kept it as a secret, allowing the players of the game to relish in the horror of the unknown. The first thing we heard about the DSD was issued in a lore article known as The Movement of the World. This was a document released to the player base to explain the changes on the planet of Tyria over the 250 years between the original game and the sequel. This article was written in September 2007, 13 years ago as I record this video. While some of the movement of the world now looks a bit wonky and never quite ended up true, many of us in the community do assume that this sentence about the deep sea dragon still counts. In the deepest waters of the sea, another dragon breathed, twisting the waters themselves into tentacled horrors that rose from every lake and every river of the land. It's an interesting line. It appears right near the top of the article, next to a bunch of other confirmed canon information that's crucially important about the other Elder Dragons. But in truth, once Guild Wars 2 released, we didn't see tentacled horrors rising from every lake and river of the land, nor have we heard of any of the citizens of Tyria talking about this happening at any point in the past. So, is this retconned? Or perhaps did it occur somewhere far away? That wouldn't be every lake and river, but maybe somewhere? There is one place in the game we may recognize tentacled horrors for what it's worth. One of the islands of the Fractals of the Mists, portraying an echo of the Jade Sea in Cantha and the terrifying Jade Moor boss. So perhaps it had happened just over there. One big notable thing that the Movement of the World didn't divulge to us about the Deep Sea Dragon is its name. Because yes, each Elder Dragon has a significant name in the lore, and the studio has never been shy giving us those names. Primordus was named in that very article. Jormag, Kralkatorrik, and Zaitan's names all came swiftly after. When Morgemoth, the Jungle Dragon, was revealed, its name was offered a little awkwardly, but it did happen, and yet nothing for the Deep Sea Dragon. Well, kind of. That was until Living World Season 2, when finally some tangible information was gleaned. It was revealed that the first humans on Tyria, over 1,000 years ago, had written a book known as the Tome of the Five True Gods. They had attempted to chronicle as much information from their deities as was possible, and the human gods knew about the Elder Dragons. Have you ever wondered where these names came from in the first place? Sadly, several sections of the book were damaged over time, including the section dealing with the Deep Sea Dragon, but the first letter of its name probably started with an S. They revealed that to us in Living World Season 2, a long time ago now, and I suppose there's some wiggle room that maybe the studio will change the name and the deep sea dragon won't begin with an S in the end, but I tend to think they'll probably go with it. For now, that's all we've got. While we may not have seen the dragon in-game, and none of the characters living on land seem to fear it or know about it, there have been signs of its activities, like the many aquatic races that have appeared on Tyria over the 250-year gap. These were probably displaced on some level as refugees by a menace far out in the depths. The Quaggan, the Crate, the Lagos, and the Karka all likely had interactions with the deep sea dragon or its minions at some point in recent history, and all of them, except maybe the Crate, could be great allies to enlist in the fight against it. There have been a few other small hints in-game about the dragon for those really paying attention. In Mount Maelstrom is an enormous inquest lab designed to study and combine the powers of the Elder Dragons. In it, there is a zone for each Elder Dragon that a player can explore and contains obvious influence from its respective dragon. So Zone Black for Zaitan has Risen in it, Zone White for Jormag had Icebrood, Violet for Kralkatorrik, and so on. There is a 6th zone too, and it's a little special because it's still under construction. It's Zone Blue. There are no minions there, or any sign of the deep sea dragon, but players that are patient enough and wait a long time can find and overhear some Inquest employees, in particular a water scientist, talking about how the Inquest may have actually captured a minion of the deep sea dragon, but the specimen they procured is far too large to be contained within Zone Blue. That might suggest the Inquest, of all the free peoples of Tyria, actually do know something substantive about the deep sea dragon, but they're keeping it a secret. It might also suggest that the creatures spawned by the deep sea dragon are of a gargantuan size, much larger than the minions you would typically find of the other dragons. Another hint came with the first expansion, Heart of Thorns, when the Pact Commander is challenged in the exalted city of Tyria to face against minions of all the different Elder Dragons. During the challenge, no deep sea dragon minions appear, but there is a moment where mysterious springs of salt water erupt from out of the ground.
What are these water spouts? They're salt water.
Then they go away. This could suggest that the deep sea dragon can use water itself as an extension of its will, similar to how other dragons are using minions. And in fact, the original Movement of the World description kind of suggests the same thing. Years later, during some of the most recent story, the Asura Taimi makes a comment in a document about the deep sea dragon, and she says something along the same lines too. She writes, "The water dragon. Scholars have long debated the possible existence of another elder dragon, one that may possess a degree of control over water and the oceans. Canthan and Elonian sailors have recounted tales of strange creatures heretofore unknown emerging from the oceans, possibly tied to this dragon's resurgence, but as of this writing, that folklore has yet to be empirically verified." Another question to ask about the deep sea dragon is when exactly it arose to terrorize the world. There is no clear answer for this, but in Season 2, the studio may have dropped a hint when the player sees a vision inside Omad's machine. In this vision, many orbs representing the 6 elder dragons are seen activating and beginning to move with the same timing and order that the other dragons are known to have awakened. And among these orbs is, of course, a blue orb, evidence of the deep sea dragon, and that it seems to have woken up somewhere far away, second of all, roughly 50 years after the first elder dragon, Primordus, awoke. Probably my favourite hint offered about the deep sea dragon was in the expansion Path of Fire from 2017. See, for all these years, we haven't just not known its name or its capabilities, we haven't known what the dragon looks like either. Yes, there has been some concept art that released over time that looks suspiciously relevant, often showing something serpentine, but nothing has so far been confirmed. Then, during a story instance in which the player is taught the nature of Glint's legacy, her plan to replace the Elder Dragons and not destroy them, for the briefest moments, just a handful of frames, the deep sea dragon appears on screen, giving us our first official and only ever glimpse at it. In recent years, as more of the dragons are defeated or dealt with, it seems the likelihood of the ultimate mystery being answered is coming closer. The opening trailer for the Icebreed saga featured a curious scene of ruined ships and dead Crate, and a recent developer comment mentioned the deep sea dragon directly, so we know it's on their mind. The next expansion, titled End of Dragons, will likely conclude the whole dragon plotline, and with that, surely the deep sea dragon will appear. Certainly the mysterious dragons and water theme on the expansion's logo suggests as much. Further, as I mentioned, there's a lot of reason to believe that this dragon could have been around Cantha this whole time, and it may have been related to the other serpentine dragons we know about, the Salt Sprays of Cantha and Kunavang of Cantha. And what do we see in the End of Dragons trailer? Confirmation that it will be set in Cantha, and Kunavang herself appears right there. The time for answers on this mystery may be coming very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Alright guys, so hopefully you enjoyed that. Here's the deal, a few years ago we used to do Guild Wars mystery videos, and I feel like I kind of covered everything that was truly big in the game. Also, the videos ended up getting really long, like 40 minutes, 50 minutes, maybe more, and would end up devolving into these long, rambling speculations about like the nature of the universe and stuff. I've ever since then wanted to bring the mysteries series back, but now that all the big topics are covered, it was kind of hard to figure out how. And I think I'm going to settle on this. There are a lot of things that we can still talk about and that are curious to me. It's just that they don't warrant the runtime of the old videos. So I want to see how these ones do. They'll be slightly shorter, basically. More focused, more refined, more watchable to people outside of my audience as well. And hopefully it's fun. So I'm watching very closely the metrics of this. I've got a huge list of a good number of videos for this new edition of Guild Wars 2 Mysteries. It's kind of like Guild Wars 2 Mysteries Mini in a way. I've got a huge list, but I mean, if they're not pulling in the views and all that kind of stuff, I might end up canning it. We'll see. So if you want to support it, please feel free to. And again, I've got a lot of really cool ideas, and hopefully now finally a fun way to talk about them. Sorry it's been a while since Guild Wars 2 Mysteries, but I'm really happy to have it back. Don't forget, I've got a daily speculation series, Q&A, about the expansion End of Dragons as well. You can check that out on the channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.